It was a rainy afternoon in the city, the kind of day when people hurry indoors to escape the drizzle, carrying with them the scent of wet pavement and cold wind. The cafe on the corner of Fifth Avenue was warm, filled with the low hum of voices, the clinking of cups, and the faint melody of jazz playing in the background. But suddenly, that peaceful atmosphere was broken. A sharp, restless cry pierced through the cafe, the cry of a baby, shrill, desperate, and unyielding. Heads turned, annoyed glances followed, and whispers began to ripple across the tables. Sitting in the corner booth, a man in a perfectly tailored suit shifted uneasily, bouncing the tiny child in his arms. His name was Adrian Cole, one of the most successful millionaire CEOs in the city. People admired his empire, his fortune, his charm, but at this moment, Adrian was simply a father who looked utterly helpless. His baby would not stop crying, no matter what he tried. High voltage. Before we dive deeper into this story, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small acts to change lives, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to I Am Kindness Corner. Let's spread these stories of hope together. High voltage. Adrian had never been the type to sit in a cafe like this. His life was built on business meetings in skyscrapers, chauffeured cars, and luxurious hotel suites. But today was different. His personal assistant was out, his wife had been away traveling, and he had decided to spend some quality time with his infant son. The problem was, Adrian had no idea how to handle a baby. He had always been too busy to learn. Now, as his son cried louder, his polished image began to crack. Sweat formed on his forehead, his tie loosened, and his usually sharp composure faded into panic. The other customers were growing restless. Some rolled their eyes. A few muttered complaints. Adrian could feel the judgment surrounding him, and for the first time in years, he felt small. At that moment, from behind the counter, a young waitress noticed. Her name was Emily. She wasn't anyone most people would stop to notice, a plain uniform, her hair tied back, a tired look in her eyes. Life had not been easy for her. She had grown up poor, worked 2 jobs to keep her younger brother in school, and was still trying to pay off debts left behind by her father. She had no wealth, no prestige, and no power. Yet she carried within her a kind of quiet strength, the strength of someone who had seen enough hardship to know the value of compassion. Emily watched as Adrian tried in vain to calm the baby, patting him, rocking him awkwardly, whispering words that only seemed to make the infant wail louder. The sight struck something deep inside her. She couldn't just stand by. Emily hesitated at first. After all, who was she to approach a man like him? The sharp suit, the expensive watch, the aura of importance, everything about him screamed, untouchable. But then she looked at the baby again. His little face was red from crying, his tiny fists clenched, his chest heaving with sobs. Something maternal stirred inside her, something she didn't even know she had. With a deep breath, she walked over to the table. The other waiters kept their distance, too nervous to approach the man they recognized from magazines and television interviews. But Emily didn't care. She simply saw a father and child in need. Adrian looked up at her with weary, embarrassed eyes, expecting another complaint. Instead, Emily's voice was gentle, almost soothing. She asked if she could try holding the baby. For a moment, Adrian froze. No one had ever offered something like that before. He was used to people either flattering him or avoiding him. But there was no judgment in Emily's eyes, only kindness. With an uncertain nod, he handed the baby over. The moment Emily held the child against her shoulder, something magical happened. Her touch was steady, her movements calm. She hummed softly, a tune she remembered from her own childhood, a lullaby her mother used to sing when nights felt too long. The baby's cries began to soften, his trembling body relaxing in her arms. Within minutes, the cafe, once filled with shrill wails, was quiet again. The baby's breathing slowed, his tiny head nestled against Emily's chest, and soon he was peacefully asleep. The transformation stunned everyone. The other customers, who had been irritated moments ago, now watched in silent awe. Some even smiled, their annoyance melting into admiration. Adrian, however, was struck speechless. This woman, this ordinary waitress, had done what he, with all his wealth and power, could not. He watched her, humbled, as she rocked his son gently, as if the child were her own. What Adrian didn't know was that Emily had always been good with children. She had practically raised her brother when her parents failed to provide. She had soothed his tears, told him stories, and held him during storms. Caring for children had become second nature to her. But she never imagined it would mean anything beyond her small world. Yet here she was, cradling the baby of one of the most powerful men in the city, as the whole cafe looked on. Adrian felt something shift inside him that day. For years, he had believed money could solve anything. He had lived in boardrooms, surrounded by deals and figures, too busy for anything that didn't grow his empire. But this moment was different. No amount of money, no expensive toy, no luxury could calm his son. It was a waitress, a woman society often overlooked, who had shown him what true value meant. He felt ashamed, not of his struggle, but of how much he had missed in his pursuit of success. When Emily handed the baby back, Adrian's eyes met hers, and he saw something rare, genuine compassion without expectation. She didn't ask for a tip. She didn't even linger for praise. She simply smiled, whispered he just needed a little comfort, and turned to walk away. But Adrian couldn't let it end there. He asked her name, and for the first time in a long time, he felt curiosity about someone not because of what they had, but because of who they were. Over the next weeks, Adrian returned to the cafe often. At first, it was to see Emily again, under the excuse of needing coffee or fresh air. But soon, it became about more. He began to talk to her, to listen to her story. He learned about her struggles, her sacrifices, and her dreams that had always been pushed aside for survival. The more he listened, the more he realized how far his world was from hers, yet how much he admired her resilience. Emily reminded him of what truly mattered in life: love, humility, kindness. Slowly, Adrian started changing. He took more time with his son, learning to care for him with patience. He stopped treating his staff as disposable and began to see them as people with lives, struggles, and dreams of their own. His empire was still powerful, but for the first time, Adrian began to build not just a company, but a legacy rooted in compassion. And it all started with one simple act in a cafe. For Emily, life didn't magically transform overnight. She still worked long shifts, still worried about bills, still carried the weight of responsibility for her brother. But there was something different now. Adrian, moved by her kindness, quietly began supporting her in ways that didn't take away her dignity. He offered scholarships for her brother's education, opportunities for Emily herself to grow beyond the cafe, and above all, he offered friendship. He never forgot that she had given him something money could not buy, the lesson that human connection is priceless. And so, two lives that might never have crossed, a millionaire CEO and a poor waitress, became intertwined because of one crying baby and one act of kindness. Rose, if this story has touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to I Am Kindness Corner. Let's keep reminding the world that even the smallest acts of love can change lives in the biggest ways. Rose.